Mortal Kombat is getting sold off to the highest bidder? That's what everyone online is talking about, but is it actually true? There's been some big updates on this topic and I want to talk about it because another day means more Mortal Kombat 1 news. I'm covering it all the time on this channel, so if you want to stay up to date, then make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss any future videos. And then after watching, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below, it helps the channel out a ton. And without any further ado, let's begin. Starting off with the news that broke social media yesterday. Not really, but a few of us were spooked. Many online posts and website headlines began stating that Warner Bros. Discovery was selling its game divisions to recoup the money it lost. And I blame you, Sushi Squad. That game lost so much money and now everybody is suffering for it. But very quickly, this whole ordeal became one big game of telephone, with the actual facts getting twisted like a pretzel, and before you knew it, tons of people thought Mortal Kombat was getting sold, or that NetherRealm was going independent, all that kind of stuff. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves and begin by reading the first headline that got everybody talking. This quote comes from a game developer, and I quote, "Report, WB Discovery looking to sell off games and other divisions to prevent total breakup. Game franchises like DC and Mortal Kombat may once again be up for sale as Warner Bros. Discovery tries to make some money." Now, as you might imagine, that post got everybody talking and some people freaking out because, believe it or not, some people do like Mortal Kombat 1 and want to see the game keep going. They are excited for Kombat Pack 2 and possibly even Kombat Pack 3 and maybe a third story expansion as well. However, if Mortal Kombat gets sold or NetherRealm Studios gets bought by somebody else, then maybe plans would change and Mortal Kombat 1 could be cancelled dead in its tracks. Or at the very least, we would not get Kombat Pack 3. You get the idea. The concern from many players was, if Mortal Kombat does get sold off, what's going to happen to the current game, and in fact, what's going to happen to the entire series moving forward. That's what many players were concerned about. However, with that said, some people were actually hopeful about this possibility, because if NetherRealm gets sold to somebody else or possibly goes independent, then maybe the Mortal Kombat series could actually improve, and that's because some players do believe that Warner Bros. Is behind a lot of the decisions and choices that players don't actually like about the recent Mortal Kombat games. Now, for me personally, just to add my own perspective to all of this, I do like Mortal Kombat 1, and even though I don't agree with every choice made by NetherRealm Studios, and especially not WB, I also don't like the possibility of someone else owning the game series and changing it completely. I've gotten kinda comfortable with how it's going. And also, I have no idea how NetherRealm could go independent, because this headline suggests that WB was going to sell the game division, which would mean that somebody else would just end up in charge of NetherRealm Studios instead. And who knows who that could be? As the expression goes, better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. So that's one thing, but on top of that, I don't know how NetherRealm would go independent, and even if they tried, I'm not sure if they could give us the same quality content that we've gotten for the past 2 decades. I understand the recent games have had their own flaws here and there, but even so, they had millions of dollars of backing, and I'm not sure if NetherRealm could do that all by themselves. But thankfully, this initial headline and post turned out to be false. NetherRealm is not being sold off, which makes way more sense to me because Mortal Kombat 1 was actually raking in a good amount of money, and according to certain websites, the game has been selling very well even recently, almost an entire year after the game's initial release, and as a result, trying to sell the game away would be a really dumb decision and make no sense at all. But hey, this is the gaming industry we're talking about. They're known for making some pretty dumb financial decisions without very much common sense at all. And as a result, maybe they would sell Mortal Kombat or NetherRealm despite all the money being earned because they're just that short-sighted. However, let's fast forward to the present day, and here's what's actually happening. Once again, this tweet comes from game developer, and I quote, "Warner Bros. Wants to license game properties as division revenue drops. The financial blow from Sushi Squad has WB exploring other options, primarily leaning into their IP." And for anyone not aware what IP stands for, it means intellectual property. And I think famous data miner The Thinny explained it in even simpler terms, so let's have a look at his tweet. Warner Bros. Discovery has decided to start licensing their IPs to other studios similar to how Disney licenses their IPs. It appears that this is the route they're taking to recoup some of the money from the video game division instead of selling. Could we potentially start seeing Mortal Kombat spin-offs again and let NetherRealm focus on the fighters instead? Yes, so that is a much better and simpler way of explaining what's happening with Warner Bros. Discovery right now. They're not selling off NetherRealm Studios, instead they are licensing IPs to make money that way. And I think a great example of this is Sony, because they gave Disney the license license to Spider-Man for a few films, but then afterwards they took the Spider-Man license back. And that joint venture actually ended up making a bunch of money for both companies, Disney and Sony together. And then after all was said and done, Sony still has the film rights to Spider-Man, so something similar might be happening with the game rights of Mortal Kombat or even separate characters in Mortal Kombat. So for a fast example, maybe WB Discovery would give the IP of Cassie Cage and the Kombat Kids to a different game studio and say, hey, make a Shaolin Monks kind of style game, but with the Kombat Kids characters, make 1, 2, maybe 3 games, and then once that contract is up, we get the rights back to these characters. Or for another example, there could be a Black Dragon spin-off with Cabal as the main character, maybe some Red Dragons thrown in there too as the rivals. Any of these different IPs could be licensed off to different studios to make a game, but only for a temporary amount of time. And every time WB licenses these specific IPs, they make a good amount of money up front, and they likely also get some residuals if the game makes a good amount of money. Or in other words, it's a win-win. The only real downside is you get exposed by people who make better games than you. That can definitely happen, and once again, the Spider-Man films are a great example. Sony tried to make their own Spider-Man films, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, which did not have the best reception. So then afterward, they licensed Spider-Man to Disney, and they made a lot of really good Spider-Man films, including the multi-billion-dollar success No Way Home. Now, at the end of the day, I'm sure that Sony still made a lot of money, but even so, everyone now knows for a fact that Disney is way better at making Spider-Man movies than Sony is. And once again, the same thing could happen with Mortal Kombat. NetherRealm and WB could license their IP to a different game studio and say, hey, make your own Mortal Kombat game with these characters, and then that game turns out to be really successful and a ton of fun, everybody loves it, and now players are like, hey, just let this studio make all the Mortal Kombat games in the future because they know what they're doing for sure. I feel like that's the main downside when you license your characters or your IPs to a different studio or game development team. You get the idea. Even though you make money from the license and the residuals, you also run the risk of them doing a better job with your property than you ever did. Now for me personally, just to give my opinion once again, I'm happy about this news because it means that maybe, just maybe, we're finally gonna get the Mortal Kombat dating sim. No, seriously, why does nobody else see the potential of a Mortal Kombat dating sim? Is it really just me? How amazing would it be to date your favorite Mortal Kombat characters in a video game? It'd be so much fun, wouldn't it? Alright, I digress. The point is that Mortal Kombat 1 is not getting cancelled early or anything awful like that. Instead, we might get some cool spin-off games and other Mortal Kombat related stuff of that nature. So real quick, just for fun, I want to make this video interactive and ask all of you watching, what is your idea for a Mortal Kombat spin-off game? And I don't want you to hold back. Post any and all of your creative thoughts for a future Mortal Kombat game in the comments section down below. Don't forget, my idea was a dating sim, okay? So the sky is the limit. Any fun game idea you can think of that features the Mortal Kombat IP. Let me know any and all of your thoughts and ideas in the comments section down below. Let's have a lot of fun with this topic, because like I say in all my videos, I truly do read each and every comment, so grab that keyboard and make your voices heard. At the end of the day, I'm personally very happy that Mortal Kombat 1 is not getting cancelled early, and I'm also happy that NetherRealm is not being sold off, and that Mortal Kombat is not being sold off to a different company either, because even though I love the thought of Microsoft owning NetherRealm and saying, yo, put Doomslayer in Mortal Kombat 1, that sounds really cool, don't get me wrong, but that's just one of many possibilities that could happen if WB did ever actually sell this IP or sell NetherRealm Studios. But thankfully, they're just licensing the IP, which could be a silver lining in the long run, because maybe we're gonna get some really cool spin-offs from this IP licensing, some really cool Mortal Kombat games in the near future. But don't get me wrong, this situation is definitely not ideal. I would prefer if my video game publishers were not losing tons of money and jeopardizing the games that I love. But even so, I do think this is the better of a bad situation. I'd rather the Mortal Kombat IP be sold off to different studios to make some fun spin-offs than to have the entire Mortal Kombat property be sold off, or for NetherRealm to be sold, or possibly going independent and having to struggle with all those different problems that come with it. Well everyone, another day means more Mortal Kombat 1 news. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below, it helps the channel out a ton, and then finish that combo by subscribing and ringing that bell so you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.